Hello and welcome to my second video. This one is brought to you by beer because beer, and also because if you're watching me drink, then I'm not really drinking alone. Okay, today we're going to cover quite a bit. I want to kind of go broader than copy. We're going to go sort of up to the top of the sales funnel. And we're going to try and help you raise awareness of your business. Okay, so I'm going to give you a series of tips that you can apply to what you're doing, so that you give give the dollars you spend the best opportunity to get a higher return on investment. Okay. Then I'll go through an example. So I'll take some of those tips and apply them to a real example, which Mohammed sent in. Thank you, Mohammed. Sent in. So I'll take his flyer and apply some of those tips to that. And then thirdly, we're going to go to answer a question that Adrian sent in, which was about engaging an agency and what 3 questions to ask when you're doing that, so in the interview process. So, all right, let's crack on. Let's go. How to break through and build awareness. If you're running a startup, I'm going to suggest that your awareness is relatively low. And that's fine. You've got to start somewhere, right? But the assumption here is that you're going to start pretty cold. Okay, you're not going to have the big budgets and the big familiarity the brands have who've been doing this for a long time. So the world we're playing in, though, I think it's important to be mindful of is a challenging one. And it's not to say that we can't overcome these challenges. It's just we need to be aware of these challenges so that we can overcome them. Okay, and I guess the challenges are threefold. The first one is being a startup. Obviously, nobody knows who you are. Okay, so you really are coming from a very cold base. And I think it's important to be mindful of that, because everything you make, you need to disconnect. Every sort of ad campaign, whatever you want to do, you need to disconnect yourself from it and your own familiarity of it. And just remind yourself that you're going in cold, so these people don't know anything about what you're offering. Okay, so that's important. Second thing is that we need to realize that people don't care what you're offering. And I know that sounds difficult, but the reality is everyone's got enough shit going on in their heads, okay? So they've got their own problems, and there's no real reason they're going to engage with your communication or advertising, whatever, particularly unless they really urgently need that thing solved at that point in time. So for example, if the whole water system just shut itself, I'm going to need a plumber. Okay, so you can potentially show up at the right time when they need something solved, but that's very rare. So for the most part, you gotta compete with the fact that people have other stuff cluttering their heads. Okay. The third thing you need to understand, or we need to understand and appreciate, is that we live in the most distracted world. Our brains have been completely rewired. Thanks to the internet and amount of tabs and iPhones and apps and stuff like that, our attention span is very, very short. In fact, you probably looked at like 25 things since this video started, which is totally fine, because that's the average and that's the world we're playing in. So those 3 things we need to bear in mind. Okay, no one knows who you are, no one cares who you are, and they're distracted by absolutely everything. All right. Now, it's not to say we can't stand out and raise awareness in this world. So here are a few tips on how to do that. Tip number 1, stand out in the space you're in. To get any level of awareness, you obviously have to stand out. And I think what we tend to do a lot in advertising is to look at the piece that we're creating in isolation of everything else. So you'll look at your ad or your flyer, and you'll use a certain color, and you'll put in a certain amount of copy or whatever. But the important thing is they're looking at in isolation. What you need to do is to go out into the world, get whatever is the media that you're going to go into. So for example, let's say you're doing a flyer in people's letterbox, go and get a whole heap of those, put them out on the table in front of you, and that's the space that you're in. And that's where you need to stand out. Okay, so this can be true of getting magazine ads or posts, or Facebook posts or Insta posts, whatever, collecting as much as you can, putting it out there and going, this is a space I'm playing in, I need to stand out in this. So you might be looking at, going for a bold color. We might be looking for going for a big headline. Maybe it's a different shape if it's a flyer in the mailer, so that's going to stand out from all the other similar shapes. So that's kind of what I mean by stand out in the space you're in. But to do that, you need to understand the space, you need to research it and find out where you can actually show up in a better way. Tip number 2, be single-minded. Humans are complicated creatures, okay? We've got a lot of shit going on in our heads, we're distracted by everything, and we've got a terrible memory, all right? So let's not throw a lot of information at people. Let's just do one thing well and one thing at a time. And I know it's difficult to show a level of restraint, I guess, because you're obviously very passionate at what you're doing. It's a startup, you've got a lot to tell, a big story to tell people, and you're enthusiastic about that. I love that. But unfortunately, you put all that on a page or in a post, and people just won't take it in, okay? It's like throwing them 10 tennis balls at once, and they're not going to catch anything. But if you throw them one ball, they'll catch it, okay? So by all means, you can have supporting copy that supports the initial point, but just stay focused on that main point. Throw that one ball out and get them holding onto that ball for as long as possible. Get them to do whatever it is you want them to do in terms of next steps of persuasion, call to action, but just stay single-minded. So on one topic. Otherwise, they'll get distracted, they'll get overwhelmed, and they will just disengage. Okay, tip number 3, build familiarity through frequency. For someone to give you their money, they need to completely trust you, and trust is built up over a series of interactions. Okay, they're not going to trust you right off the bat, and you can obviously build trust through things like PR, which represents its own challenges, but PR is a good way of building trust. Case studies are a good way of building trust. Reviews are a good way of building trust. But familiarity is actually a really great way of building trust. And what that means is about showing up multiple times in their life. And so being that, and it won't be the first one that hooks them in or the second. It sometimes can get up to 15 and 16 times before people actually start recalling and engaging with advertising. So you need to be out there and be out there often, and show up. And the more you show up in people's lives, the more they start to get a connection to build that trust, and then that will give them more confidence to part with their money and purchase whatever you're offering, whatever good or service you're offering, okay? So don't just expect one ad to do all the job. You'll need to show up a lot of times. Tip number 4, make emotional connections. As humans, we make the majority of our decisions every day with our heart instead of our head, okay? So we'll want something, we'll desire something, we'll be drawn to things. And so all of that's sort of emotional sway. And that's how we need to try and connect with people, okay, on an emotional level. It's an example would be Apple. So Apple, for their iPhones, they don't tell you what the megapixels is of their camera, they just show you how amazing the photos are, and you could be that kind of photographer, okay? So that's very much connection on an emotional level. Now, there might come a point in the decision-making process where there'll be an element of rational that comes into play. Okay, so let's say I'm about to put money down, and it's going to be things like, length of warranty or quality of build, or this is going to solve a big problem, whatever it is. But there'll be that kind of, when I'm about to part my money, going to be like, oh, give me the reasons, give me the validation. But ultimately, it'll be an emotional decision that gets made, because emotion can overcome everything. You go, oh, I deserve it, why not, let's do it. Okay, so, this is why you do retargeting and stuff like that too, all right? Because FOMO can play a part. So you might hook them in for something, and then often brands will retarget you because they know that kind of the rational mind got won at some point and got you out, disconnected you. So you're like, oh, I don't have time for this, or that's too expensive, whatever it is. So they bring in an offer, 20% off for the next 5 days. So they've got the FOMO, which is also an emotional connection, fear of missing out. And so that's a reason to engage. Now, if you're doing B2B, because that's the B2C world, if you're doing B2B, I'd still say the hook is an emotional connection initially, okay? Because we are talking to humans, and emotion is the first connection that you're going to make. But what happens in B2B is there has to be more of a rational case, because what every decision you're making, it actually has a knock-on effect. So it'll mean that If I invest in this, that means I can't afford that. Or if we do this, then I've got to train the team up on that. So there's broader things at play than just that one person making that one decision. But so that's where rational needs to come into play a bit more, because you need to justify the decision you're making. But it's still the initial point of contact is emotion for sure, and then carry them through with the more rational thinking. Okay, tip number 5: test, learn, and adapt. Now, you guys being in startup space, you have a great strength in that you can pivot quickly, and you don't have to sort of get everyone's approval or get layers of bureaucracy to make a decision about something. So what that means is you can send out stuff out to the world and find out what works, and then really amp up in that area or that area, or change the messaging, or change this or change that. Now, what I don't encourage you to do is go sporadically out and look completely different or talk in a very different tone, because that's not going to help build your brand. But what you can do is you can try a different message. You can try a different picture. It might be big picture and a small headline. It might be a big headline and no picture. It might be, there's all these different things you can play with. So play with them, test, adapt, iterate. That's going to be a real strength for you guys in what you're doing. Okay, tip number 6, be an active consumer. Now, what does that mean? Well, I guess this is a bit of homework. What I want you to do is, when you go out in the world and you go and looking at it might be magazines or posts or whatever it is, and you might something like catch your eye. I want you to sort of note what caught your eye and why. Okay, that why is going to help you start building better advertising. So if you look at things and go, oh, why did that thing attract me? What was it about that? If you actually start to analyze what it was that drew you in, then you can actually start applying that to the things you're doing. Okay, so I mean, this is obviously something I've been doing for 20 years, is asking why of every single thing I do, every single thing I see, and trying to better myself and apply those learnings to what I do. And that's what you need to do as well. You need to do that for your marketing. And don't just stay in your world. Don't just stay in the space of whatever the thing is you're offering. Go out, just understand as just a simple consumer what attracts you, what stands out, what connects with you, and why, and what's actually going on in this process. Okay. All right, so let's apply some of those tips or that thinking to a real world example that I was sent in by Muhammad. So this is what he sent in. Okay, it's a flyer that just a cold mailer that gets dropped into people's letterboxes. And it's just one-sided. I believe it's just one-sided. He said, so we've got a flyer in the mailbox. It's a tough medium. Okay, you're already up against it because people use the term junk mail and whatnot. And it's not to say that these can't actually deliver results, like this medium can't deliver results. It absolutely can. But we're kind of, we're not coming at it from 100% of people. You're going to have a slim number of people that are going to carry this through into their house or into their office. In this case, I believe he was targeting businesses. So they'd be carrying it from the letterbox into the office, or it'd be dropped in a big pile by the postman on the desk of reception or whatnot. So taking the tip number 1, right? So standing out. So imagine you've got all these different flyers, and if I was Muhammad, I'd be getting the flyers from the local area, putting them on a table and putting his in there and saying, okay, is my flyer getting the best chance of standing out in this medium, assuming it hasn't been put in the recycle bin, which is inevitable with a lot of these things, unfortunately. But again, we're going into small percentages. It's fine. 1% return is actually pretty good. So let's look at this thing. The shape, pretty much like a lot of other things that come through the mailbox, and the reason for that is because it's a very cost-effective shape. Deal, it's called, which is basically a third of an A4 piece of paper. But if you put that with everything else, it's not going to stand out. Okay, it's a bold color, which is pretty good, and I quite like the type. It's inviting. It's not wall-to-wall copy. It's actually and the color, colors are quite nice. I'm not sure why we've got 2 logos at the bottom, but if I was going to look at this, I'd be going for something different shape, potentially, and looking about how much that's going to cost. But you can do low print runs of stuff. You can try different shapes. You can try different things. It's totally fine. Now, if I was going to come at this, if you gave me this as a challenge to try and take on, okay, and I was going to analyze it, I'd be looking at things like, all right, my entry point, it seems to be a bit broad. Okay, we take care of all your business technology needs. That's a pretty broad sort of sweeping statement, and it's not going to hook me in. You're not solving a problem, you're not engaging with me on a particular emotional level. It's just a statement of, it was a fairly generic statement. IT support services for small and medium businesses, highest prices for computer hardware, cheapest prices for computer hardware and software, professional website design. Okay, so you've got three different things you're trying to sell in here. Okay, you've got three different services. I'd be coming at this from the point of view of one entry point. That idea of being single-minded, okay? And it's not to say that you can't do multiples of these and test, and learn, and adapt, like we talked about. But let's start with the idea of let's deliver one thing well, and then we'll try something else next month and something else next month, or maybe you try different areas, local areas nearby, if you're doing these yourself. All right, so let's go into how I might approach this. One example would be, what I quite like is this professional website design from $449. Now, Google say that, it's been said, sorry, Google won't say, but it's been said that there's like up to some 60% of internet traffic is actually on the mobile phone. So what that means is that if your site isn't mobile optimized, then you're going to miss out on that traffic. So what if you threw in a stat at the top that says, are you missing out on 60% of the internet traffic to your site? Is your website, even just say, is your website mobile optimized? We can do it for under $400 or under $500, whatever it is. Okay, and so what you're doing there is you're connecting on something specific. So you've got something you're missing out on, right? You're missing out on all this internet traffic. I can help you with that. Or you're getting them thinking about, shit, is my website mobile optimized? I haven't looked at it for ages. It cost me a fortune before. It cost me 10 grand when I did it 15 years ago. And now you're offering, to fix one for me with under less than $500, which I think is pretty cool. So that could be a way to go in. Or you've got, let's say it's like cheapest prices for computer hardware and software. Okay, so another way to look at it would be to go on the price thing and say, if this is quite an interesting challenger type one, if you need new IT equipment, right, Google it. When you find the best price, I'll beat it, or something like that, right? So that challenge that gets put out there that goes, if you're looking for something, what everyone does is goes online to research it, right? It's inevitable, and they'll go look at prices. So you are kind of you're empathizing with that as a behavior, and you're going, and you say, I'm going to come in at the end and give you a better price on what you can find anywhere else, which is pretty compelling, right? If I'm running a small business. So that could be your entry point. IT support. Okay, so I assume you're going to local businesses here where you're doing this flyer. So imagine you had a offering that was like, if your IT system went down, wouldn't you want someone local? Question mark. So that could be a really interesting way in. The fact that, if my system's gone down, I need it back up and running as fast as possible. So if your business is local, you live local, whatever, then I get you on site really quickly. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. So that's kind of three ways in, and it's not to say I would certainly put more copy on there. I'm not going to get enough from this, I don't believe. I just feel I need some trust elements, like we've been around for a while, or we've been helping a lot of businesses nearby, or whatever it is. Just something that kind of, we've done over 100 mobile optimized sites. Whatever it is, something like that that reinforces the initial point, that makes me keep wanting to go on the journey and go, okay, I'm nodding, I'm interested, I'm going to look at the website, and make sure the website obviously carries that story through. Even if you've got three starting points, so you've got IT support, you've got prices, and you've got web design, put those three up there, put them as carousels, so that familiarity comes into me, that reinforcement of the message, and then I can find out more about those specific things. Okay, so Mohammed, I hope that helped, and I hope that helped others out there too. If it made sense, hope it did. All right. So a bit of a Q&A now. Adrian threw the question up on the Facebook group that was, what 3 questions must you ask when interviewing an agency? Which is tough. Tough one. What 3 questions must you ask? I would turn that around. I would approach it from the point of view of like, what 3 questions must you get the answers to? Okay, so rather than 3 questions you ask, what 3 questions do you want the answers to? So you're not going to ask these questions, you just want answers to them. Okay, so first question I want an answer to is, do you have the qualifications, the experience, the case studies to be able to achieve what I need from you? Okay, so I need the agency to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Where are the examples that they've done that in the past? Okay, you need to get confidence that they're going to give you a good return on your investment. They have the experience and the knowledge to help you achieve what you need to achieve. Okay, so do they have what it takes? The second question I need the answer to is, do they have my best intention? My best intentions, your best intentions at heart. Okay, what do I mean by that? Are they going to do the right thing by me? I mean, that's a very important. There's a lot of people I've spoken to who've engaged agencies and just been fucked over, to be honest, and lost their money and wasted money, or whatever it is, because this agency didn't really care about them. Right? This is about, or what it should be about, is about building a partnership. Okay, they shouldn't be a supplier, they should be an advisor. The third thing that I think you need the answer to is, do you like them? You're going to work with these people a lot. You're going to go through a lot of emotions together. You're going to be putting your hard-earned money into their hands, hoping they get a good return on investment with their campaigns. So you've got to like these people, and that might be going having a drink with them. That might be just spending time with them. And if you don't feel that there's a connection there, some sort of sense of relationship, I guess, with them, then don't engage them. Life's too short to have to work with people you don't like. Okay, so they're the 3. Do they have the qualifications? Do they have your best intentions? And do you like them? All right, I hope that helped, Adrian, and helped some others too, if you do have the money to actually go engage an agency, which is great. All right, so hopefully you got something out of that video. I know it was a little longer than the last one, but I just wanted to, I guess, broaden it out a bit. That's, so that you guys all feel you're getting something from it. When I was just talking about copy, it's a very sort of specific part of it, and even then it was still broad because I can't sort of niche into the challenges you guys are facing. So I kind of went a bit broader with it. I hope you got some value out of it. If you did, hit subscribe again, or if you haven't already. And yeah, please comment and ask more questions, okay? I'm going to try and do an example every time and answer a question every time, or maybe a couple of answers to a couple of questions. So thanks for watching. See you next time.